was a kid, I was born here, right? But when I was a child, almost two or about two, we moved to Tennessee. And of course, it is like a must. On Sunday, you go to church. That's just how they program. That's how they get down, you know. And in those days, it was very much fire and brimstone. You know, you get saved or the alternative. So I was about seven and I accepted the Lord. And I just know that my mom walked in on me and I was on my knees and I was praying to Jesus. And she just walked in and was like, "Who are you talking to?"
7 years old.
Yeah.
That's amazing because my daughter, I believe she was 6 or 7 when she accepted the Lord, man.
Yeah, it's
And you,
beautiful.
and she actually got baptized. I believe she was 8.
Nice.
It's amazing to understand.
Kids actually are smart, bro. If
Yeah.
they have passion and listening, it's like a sponge.
What made you want to do that though at that young age? Like, what
I
sparked
mean,
that flame?
something that preacher said, I guess. I don't exactly recall, but we were in a very small town. It was about 500 people. And to this day, it's still 500
No
people.
way.
Yeah. It's Calhoun, Tennessee. It's like your backwoods, your nearest neighbor is, I don't know. You could try to throw a rock as hard as you can, and you still wouldn't hit their house.
That
It'd
sounds
be
like
like almost there, but you'd still be falling short by a few feet.
that's my next plan, man. I told my wife, I was like, next
Yeah.
house we get, I don't even want to be able to see my neighbors. I'm trying to get a little piece of like land, you know?
It is nice. Don't get me wrong, but like I'm a San Diego native at heart. You know, I was
Yeah.
born here, and I often make the comment, I'm born here, I'm gonna die here, and I could change. I've said other things worse than that, so But yeah, no. So I accepted the Lord between 6 and 7, probably 7. I like 7, and yeah, life, right? It's kind of like a merry-go-round. You just go around and around, and then something happens, and then you come back to God, and then you think, well, that's good. You get the holy goosebumps, and then you're out.
So you grew up in a Christian home?
I did. My mom was very involved in the church at a very young age. That was a must for her. But the problem is right around that same time, there was a few things going on that will be kind of hard to explain in a short timeline. But basically, my dad, the whole reason why we were out there is he was avoiding some. I couldn't really put my finger on it, but I've heard different sides of the story. Basically, like taxes and child support things. And that's kind of how we ended up out there. I had two older siblings that my mom little to no knowledge had of. And they bought a house. And it ended up being that, you put your name on anything, they're going to find you, and even if you pay cash. So they got divorced. We moved back to Cali. It was about 2000, like 99, 2000. I know it was around that time because I was turning 9. And yeah, the rest was history. I really didn't have much of a grasp on life yet. I was very young. I really don't know how to put into words how I felt. I know I was mad. I know I was very resentful towards both my parents because in my mind I thought because kids don't really know what's going on in the adult world, and my thought was like, why did this have to happen to me? Like I love my dad. Like most kids are gonna say they have grown up with them of some kind of so they don't know him other than what they know, right? Just like we don't know until we know when it comes to other things.
So that's crazy, man, because you know what? Like, I feel like that's why our community's in such bad shape is because look how many single home, like, households there are. Like, a lot of kids are growing up missing one of the two. And I've talked about this before about how God designed the family. Like, you need both halves. The mother offers something, the father offers something.
Right.
And when you're missing one of those halves, like, it causes a lot of dysfunction in the family.
Big time.
And I feel like that's why Satan's always attacking men because you remove the man from the family, like he's the head of
Absolutely.
the household, he's the leader, he's supposed to be the spiritual leader, the provider, like that's where it starts, you know what I mean? Like a head can't live without the body. That's how I think about it. Like you're the head
Right.
of the household, like Christ is the head of the church. That's
Absolutely.
exactly how I see it. We're made in his image, you know? So I think that's why we're in such bad shape, man, is because there's so many single parents out there, man.
Well, I mean, like you said, men are supposed to lead the house, and I 100% agree with that. And being that I'm the age I am, I still remember a good portion of time where that was a thing in the 90s. I was born in 92, so I didn't get the full perspective, but I do remember things like Bill Gates, or not Bill Gates, but Bill Clinton and, MTV2 and all that, excuse me. And
VH1, yeah, bless.
VH1, you know what I mean? And, Tony Hawk Pro Skater and all those things, right? And PlayStation when it first came out, but we're sidetracking. But anyways, um, my dad was an alcoholic for many years and he worked a lot. He was a welder. So, and he was also a volunteer firefighter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
That's dope.
our town was 500 people, so they didn't exactly have like, the Andy Griffith show.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's like the cop, and then he's like the dad, and then he's like the neighborhood friend.
Yeah.
It's like he's all kind of like multiple different hats. It's like that over there. It's like the same thing. So it's like they had like a volunteer firefighter force. He would drink on the weekends and when he had days off. And, to him, that's how he grew up. So it was like, what's the big deal? He didn't grow up in church. He didn't really have that desire. My mom would take him, but he was like going because she wanted him to go. And
Yeah.
like it says in the Bible, like you can't be unequally yoked because obviously, divorce.
So he was never saved.
He got saved in this past October.
Oh yeah.
It finally happened. I prayed for over 3 years every day. And it happened. And I still pray for him because I know that, like it says in the word, the seed can fall on the soil, but, and sometimes we just plant the seed, but we can always pray that they grasp it,
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, he got saved this past October. Praise God for that. I was very worried. And he's made comments before like, I'm going to have a heart attack. I know I'm going to have a heart attack, and would blame me for high blood pressure. And,
Oh no.
so I was like, that's not really what you tell your kids, So, yeah, he drank on the weekends, Sundays. We lived in a dry county, so there was no alcohol on Sundays. So he would buy the day before, or he'd have to go to a whole nother area. So, yeah, anyways, we lived there for a time. My parents got divorced. And I just really felt an emptiness inside. And I just constantly kept looking for validation through a lot of different things, unfortunately. And it really drew me to the wrong places. My mom used to say, you can get the red gumball, but it may take you all your change.
Mm-hmm.
You're like focused on that one thing, like, I'm going to go do that. It's like, okay, it's going to be hard or it's going to be painful. You will do it, but it's going to cost you everything, and I really embodied that, and I sought validation through a number of ways, but one of the things that really put me in a downward spiral at a very young age was my view on women.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because it's like now it's coming out, and it's like codependency is a big deal nowadays, and lust and porn and all that, and I don't care who you are. Everyone struggles with it. It's just not all of us are ready to admit it. But anyways, not that it's my burden to bear. My point is not to throw shade on anyone. I'm speaking for myself. But I got exposed to, that lifestyle at 8 years old. And like an 8-year-old is not a developed person in any way.
Mm-mm.
That is not like their mind. Like it says even scientists are like what is it, like 1 to 7, and like they're still barely growing as a
Mm-hmm.
person, and then like, yeah. So some kid, I went to school at a school at the time. We have now since moved to Cali, and my mom is a single mom raising 3 kids. Again, same thing. I was the oldest, and we went to a charter school, and it was basically a renovated movie theater in the hood, up in the high desert, up in Coachella Valley in Indio. And it's just a bunch of like knucklehead kids that you got like mixed ages. So you got like third graders bumping elbows with like junior high and high school in
Yep.
the same room, and they're all getting taught kind of the same arithmetic and the same, you know. So I'm in the bathroom and some kid just walks up to me with the Playboy magazine. He's like, "Here, take a look at this." I knew looking at the cover what I was looking at and what could maybe be inside. And instead of handing it back to him and be like, "No, thank you," I was like, "What do we got here?"
Yeah, it's hard to say no at that young age, you know?
I mean, I think back to that moment and I'm like, where would my life be if I had been like, nah, and is it his fault? Nope. I got to take accountability for that because that's really what happens. Excuse me. Is I didn't take accountability for a lot of things in life.
Mm-hmm.
I put that blame on people like, well, if this didn't happen, then I wouldn't have made this choice. And if this person didn't abandon me, then it's like, at what point do you look back and go, yeah, I didn't make the greatest choices in life?
Yep. You
Yeah,
always have an option, even though somebody hurt you or someone's done something to you, you still have an option as a man, as a human being. Like you have the choice to go left or to go right, you know?
right. And now I'm to a point in my life where I'm like, Jesus got like beaten like badly, not just like a slap on the wrist or like there wasn't like a moment where he was like, "Can I take a 10-minute break?" Like, you guys are really beating me up right now. He didn't complain. I'm pretty sure he did not let out one curse word when they were beating him. And he still stayed on the cross. And he could have came down at any point in time and just been like, you know what? And I'm like, so why am I complaining?
That's one of the most powerful moments for me is in the Bible when those people, those three men were mocking him and spitting on him, and he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do."
Right.
Bro, I get mad when someone cuts me off in traffic or someone does something small and tedious. Could you imagine getting beat, spit on, mocked, and you have the
Ability?
love, yeah, the ability out of love to say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Like that's a whole nother different mindset and understanding. Like that's the agape love that the Bible talks about. Like that's a
Right.
hard love to grasp. Like now that I'm a father, right?
Right.
I think about this stuff like sacrificing one of your kids, like what Abraham did. Like he was really ready to sacrifice his son, bro. And if I'm being sitting here being 100% honest with you, if someone asked me to sacrifice my son, bro, like I couldn't sit here and tell you that I'd be able to do it.
I
You know what I
mean,
mean?
because
And
we
they,
care.
yeah.
Right.
And he did it. And you think about this, take it even further. He did it when we were for us when we were still in our sin. Like you think about that. Like he says, "I loved you." He loved us first, right?
Right.
So before you were even a thought or born, he made a sacrifice. He sacrificed his son, like so you could have eternal life eventually. Like sometimes it's hard to wrap your head. Like I don't think our finite minds can understand what he truly did for us. You know what I mean?
The level of love behind that. Because we live in a transactional world. People say, well, I did this for you, so what are you doing for me?
Mm-hmm.
I scratch your back. You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. There's so many terminologies, but that's like the one thing that God does not do. He's not a transactional God. He gives us that option to say, hey, I'm not interested. And he's like, cool, well, I'm still here. And I tell people this all the time. It took me a long time to come up with this, but I'm giving it away now. So here's my little thing. It's like, you ever been looking for something? Like, I don't have glasses, and I hope I never have to use them. But I'm saying, for example, you see people with glasses, they put them on top of their head and like, where are my glasses? And they're going nuts, and they're like, don't bug me, I'm looking. And you're like, bro, they're on top of your head, or your keys, or your
Yep.
wallet, or your phone, or I could go on and on and on. That's God. He's right there, even when you're not even aware of where he's at or aware of what's going on or how much he's doing something, but yet you're shoving him away and going, not right now.
That brings to mind kind of what I did majority of my life with having a void in my heart, a God shaped hole in my heart, man.
Right.
Trying to fill it. And I told you this before. What it reminds me of is that toy when you're a kid. You have to match up the shapes: the triangle, the square, and the circle. You have a circle in your heart that's only God can fill, and you try to take money, women, drugs, whatever your fix
Right.
is, and you're trying to fill this thing. And it's like you said, this is God is calling you because you're made by God and for God. So you're searching people search their entire lives and they never find what they're looking for, man. They're finding temporary fulfillment in all these things. And like I said, it's temporary. It's not
Right.
fulfilling, but
No.
it's fulfilling for, like when you're walking in sin or you're getting high, it's fulfilling for a couple
moment.
minutes.
Yeah, a
And then it
moment.
ends in misery, suffering, and you're chasing that one feeling that you got
Right.
from the first or the second time that you did it. And it ends in chaos, But
Every
like
time.
people don't realize it's like you said, like the glasses on your head, like it's God that you're searching for, because it goes much deeper than that. Like we were made by God and for God.
Right.
And when you're not walking in your purpose and you're not living in your purpose and you
Right.
don't know God, it's hard to understand what that thing is that you're missing. You know what I mean?
I love the podcast that you did with my sponsor, Travis
Mm-hmm.
Melville. And either you had or he had, so excuse me for not having the right person who said it correctly, but one of you had said, we're built with an innate desire to have a relationship with God, like you just said right now in another way. And it's true. And it's funny because like old people get it. But I used to think when I was a kid, like you guys are like on your way out. Of course you have a relationship with God. You know where you're going next. Like I got a whole life to live. Like I want to, whatever this is, let's get it cracking. You know what I mean? But like they were telling me, just like it's funny because the same things they're saying, I'm now saying.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't unhear what you heard. I mean, regardless if it's something you believe it or not, like I'm sitting here telling you right now, like if it wasn't for my grandma writing me all those times in juvenile hall, like God's going to use you, or God's got a plan for you, But like at that time, I was sitting in a juvenile hall cell going, yeah, right. Do you not see these four walls? I'm looking out this little tiny window. Like I'm dressed in blues and like got the strap shoes on. Like God's going to use me. Right. Okay. Well, why doesn't God use me to get out of here right now?
Mm-hmm.
So me and God can have that talk, and God met me right there.
It's crazy, man. You think about like when God speaks to people in the Bible and they all did what we did. Like it's like when God calls you to do something, you're like me, you feel unequipped. Like you
All
can't
the
be talking to
time.
the right person, man. Like who was it? I believe it was Moses. God told Moses he was going to lead the Israelites out of slavery, right?
Right.
Could you imagine going to the most powerful dude like in Egypt and saying
You're
you're
gonna
gonna free?
listen. I got something to tell you.
Could you imagine that assignment? I'd be like, me, dude. Like, are you serious? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
and we do the same thing. It's our human nature.
Right.
Like, I used to look at the Israelites and be like, what is wrong with these people, man? Like, you see all the miracles that they saw time after time after time.
Right.
Like, hey, Lord, we're hungry. He gives them manna out of the sky. He gives
Right.
them meat, like all these things. And every time they get it, they're on to the next thing. Like, and they're complaining. And they doubt God. I'm like, how are you gonna doubt God when you saw literally bread fall from the sky? Like,
When does that happen?
yeah, and I think about it, and one day it hit me. I'm like, that's us. That's human nature.
It is.
I get one thing, and then as soon as I get it, I'm already
Off
worrying.
to the next thing.
You know what I mean? It's human nature, and I never thought about that until one day it just hit me like a light switch, and I was like, that's me, man. I used to be like, these people are crazy, but that's human nature, right?
I want right now. And as soon as I get whatever I want, because I think I deserve it, I'm already looking across the street like, well, I want that too if we're at it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I want it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, explain to me what it is are you willing to do to get that? Because I would love to give it to you. But the thing is you're still holding on to whatever it is that you got going on, And that's when I really started to do a deep dive is when I surrendered and my life started to change. But from basically 8 years old all the way up until 32 years old, I did what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I got clean, like I still ran my own program, and I just was like, you weren't gonna tell me anything, and I had already had enough info, and I've been cured, and I'm gonna just walk around like I got it all figured out, and I read the Bible, and like, sure, go to church, sure. And it was like, but my walk was not that, and it's like I feel like we got part-time Christians all over the place doing the exact same thing. It may not be addiction, because we got all kinds of stuff going on. But we all are addicted to something called the word escape. And it could be, anything.
Escape is essentially idolatry because you think about this. The Bible, see, people love taking this one scripture about money. Money is the root of all evil.
Right.
And they say, they don't understand that, like, there are many things in your life that you place above God
Right.
that become And when I say idolatry, people think of like golden calves, like in the Bible.
Right.
No, I'm talking about food, money, sex, alcohol. Like there's a
It's
number,
true.
work. You could be addicted to work. That could be whatever it is that you're
It's a
putting.
priority number one.
Yeah, what you're putting first in your
Right.
life, that's your God.
Right.
That's what idolatry is, and that's what causes distractions. That's what causes you to slip, backslide. So
Oh
people
man.
people
Yep.
want to look at addiction or certain things as different from sin. No, it's all sin, and that's what I love about the Bible. It's very clear. Like sin is sin. It doesn't matter what your sin is. It's no different. It might be different, but it doesn't make it any worse or better.
Right.
It
And
says you're guilty of all of them. You're guilty of one. You're guilty of all.
I agree. And like it even says that in itself too, that same passage, like for all have fallen short
Mm-hmm.
and for the wages of sin is death. So if that's the case, then that means there's a price that needs to be paid.
Somebody already paid it.
And exactly. Someone already paid it and it's freely given to everyone. But yet there's still people walking around going, nah, I'm good. And you're like, okay, well, good luck with that. And it just eats me up inside because once you've truly wrapped your mind around, like, here's my take on things. You know, going back to juvenile hall at 15 years old, I would have never pictured myself. Like, if I could have got a glimpse into the future somehow in some weird way, I never would have thought I'd be sitting here talking about my feelings, talking about my struggles, my experience, strength, and hope, you know? But God used everything I went through to just do that. And I'm not saying I went through more than the next person. I'm not saying I went through less than anybody, or like mine's up here and theirs is down there, or I'm not minimizing or trying to overplay anything. I'm just saying I was lost and now I'm found. And it took me years of hearing the same stuff and still going, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. And then it was like a merry-go-round.
Because those are the only two. Like when you're living that life, man, and you're not walking with God, and you're living in sin. There's no. It says the end result of sin is death, and I love that it's very clear. It doesn't say there's a gray area. It doesn't say there's any way out. It doesn't give you like other options. It
Right.
says
You got plenty of chances.
yeah, the end result of sin is death.
Right.
Sin leads to death, and it's very clear about that, man.
You know, it's the scariest death of all. And I mean this wholeheartedly. I hope I don't freak anyone out, but the scariest death of all isn't hell, because that's imminent, right? The scary death of all is not living in it now.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
or wasting your life. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like it's the reality of it is like I know better and I choose not to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've already died then.
Mm-hmm.
And it even says in the Bible, it says that if we die like him and die to ourselves, then we'll live like him. So if I'm the one that's in charge of that and those choices, then I am the same person who's responsible for those outcomes. And I'm also the same person who's going to be held accountable in the end. So it's like, at what point do we sit back and go, I did that. That wasn't cool. And now I have to rip the benefits of that. But we live in this like society where everyone's like, it's their fault I turned out this way. Or the famous one, this is just how I am. And it's like, no, this is not how you are.
Yeah, it's like that victim mentality. You
It
accept
really
it.
is.
But that comes down to just Satan beating you down. And I've had that victim mentality, and I'm
I did
100%
too.
guilty of it. And last year, bro, I was delivered from like one of the biggest lies that I used to tell myself every day that kept me trapped. You know, that I'm a felon and I'll never be able to.
Well, that's a good one.
I'm a felon and I can't get this job. I can't go do this. Like I
So
used
why
to,
try?
yeah. And so I beat myself up for years and years and years.
Right.
And
lying to yourself.
yeah, and I'm currently working at a job that pays my bills, and it's been a blessing. I've learned a lot of stuff along the way, but I'm just at a point to where God's calling me to do something else, and I haven't been happy there the past couple of years.
Sure.
But in my mind, I believed I wasn't able or capable of doing anything else because that one lie, like I'm a felon. This is the most money I'm ever gonna make,
Right.
and I need to pour myself into this whether I like it or not because my family needs to be fed. You know what I mean? Like that one lie. And it wasn't until last year that God delivered me from that mindset, bro, that I was trapped and I was in a mental prison, you know?
I spent 25 years avoiding God. I mean, I'll be fair. I'll give myself some credit. When I got clean in 2021, it was because of God, 100%. But my walk with God did not kick in until 2024.
What was the pivotal moment? Like what made you turn to
Man,
God like that. You know what I mean? Come back to Him.
a tattoo.
Really? That's crazy. We gotta hear this one. We
Do
gotta
you
hear
do
this
you,
one.
do you really want to hear this one? It's
We
not.
gotta
It's
hear
a
this one.
tearjerker, man. I tell you, and then I'm really gonna do my best not to blaspheme someone or slander them and slam them because I do care for them a lot still,
Yeah.
and they are a good person, and they do know the Lord, and I did do it to myself, so I have to take accountability. Period.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and it wasn't that I didn't do this before. It was the statement behind it. So I have a tattoo above my left eye. Some don't know what it means, but it says Harley. And we had a very when we met, I should back up. So we had met 15 years before. And it was love at first sight. I should say lust. I think lust is a better word.
Lust at first sight.
It was definitely lust at first sight. There was love in our relationship, and I am not doubting that she does not love me, or even now. But where my headspace was at then, and where, speaking of deliverance, I'm going to touch on that too here in a second. Now, it all kind of goes hand in hand, right? Or hand in glove, or however you want to say it. Two different things. My perception, again, going back to the pornography and all that, I just lusted for women, beautiful women of all different kinds. And it took me to some not so great places, and you know what I mean. So, yeah, we were kids. We were together for a good portion of time. We did everything together that most toxic couples do, drugs, alcohol, partying, the normal.
Usual.
The usual,
Yeah.
and she was a real ride or die broad. She really was, and still is. Actually, my hat's off to her. She's got a heart of gold. She really does, and I pray for her all the time, actually. But anyways, we almost had a kid, and we lost it. It's tattooed on my arm. I actually got his name right here.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, she was, it was a big secret. It was very uncomfortable for me. I was 18, almost 19 years old. I think I was 19, actually. It's been a little while. We've been together for a while. It's almost on and off for about a year and a half. My memory's not the best thanks to drugs and alcohol, but it was definitely a while. We lost our kid. She was pregnant, and it just put both of us in a bad spot. And there was some other things, some other baggage that we both, I won't say on here, but we both know we have to deal with. And so yeah. Anyways, um, so yeah, long story short, we parted ways relatively quick. I changed, she changed, we both changed, and it was 15 years in between from the time that I seen her last and last year in July on the 17th. It'll actually be a year this July. We came back into each other's lives.
Oh wow.
Yeah, what are the odds of that? Not a smoke signal, not a nothing, not a cart, not a kite, not a hey, tell someone nothing.
It's
And
crazy.
yeah, it was wild. I was actually at a church. I won't disclose which one. I have my own reasons for that, but we were at a church in East County, actually not far from here. And I was visiting a longtime friend of mine. I hadn't been to church in a while. Like I said, I was still on that merry-go-round phase. And I hadn't been in a while. So I ended up going, and it was a Wednesday night. Most people don't go during Wednesdays. It's usually a smaller gathering. And they're not very often either. You don't see many churches doing that nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And she was there. I was praising God, and just that criminal mindset, I guess. I'm always gauging the room, right? And I'm looking around, and that was definitely her about a row down to the right. Probably a stone's throw away. And I tell my homeboy, I go, hey, tell me that's not her. And he looks over, and he also knew her too. So he knew like the story and the history and all that, We were all party buddies. And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, homie.
Of all places,
Well, it wasn't that like I was shocked. I was. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, dog, why are you not telling me like these are the kind of things your boy needs to like inform you on, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Whether it's street cred or not, I don't care what you call it. But that's just kind of one of those things. Not that that would have kept me from going. It probably would have went faster.
Yeah.
But it definitely caught me on my ear, right? And I'm like, dude, there's no way. And he's like, no, honestly, bro. He's like, I didn't know. He's like, that's like the first time I've ever seen her here. I'm like, what are the odds of that?
That's crazy, man. So out of that situation, what what made you come back to God?
So we ended up getting back together, and I had little to no understanding still who I was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I still was doing things I should not have been doing, obviously. And I was just still full speed, me. And I ended up with a tattoo on my face, which was not a good idea. And she got my G on my face on her neck. And it was, in my mind, all the stars were aligning. And this was my happily ever after moment. But like we just discussed, I know way I put her before God.
Mm-hmm.
And God does not play at all. I was already playing 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And that was, as they say, the last nail in the coffin, right? So September 8th was a Sunday. And that's when everything came to a screeching halt. And I didn't know what to do. I just had this overwhelming sense of I want to lash out, and I just all these emotions that I probably hadn't felt in years that I've been numbing that I have not addressed at all were coming out, and it was very similar to just like a death in the family. I just felt unworthy. I felt unloved, and that was something I dealt with my whole life, and it was all coming out at once. And so a few days went by and I started going, something in me was like, you need to go back to NA straight up, and you need to go to church, and you need to like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and like whatever it is you're going to do, you're not going to get high, period. You know, you've come this far. It's time to get serious.
So you were already, what was that, 3 years sober by that time?
Yeah. But like I said, I hadn't worked the program. I hadn't done nothing to work on myself. So basically, I just avoid the issue. Anyone can do that. And I went to a CR at Legacy Church in La Mesa. And I ran into a friend of mine who's still a good mentor to me to this day. His name's Ramon. He texts me everyday Bible verses. And I was at a CR in a midweek service, and I'm telling him my story, and he just looks at me and goes just like this with his hand. He goes, you need to surrender to Jesus.
God used him in that moment.
Bro, it grabbed my attention faster than fast.
God speaks to you like that. People don't realize, man, like there's been times in church, man, when there's a sermon and I'm feeling like he's speaking directly to me right about my situation at that current moment in time, or I'm out in public and someone comes up to me and they say something and it's confirmation of something that I've been waiting for. Like God uses people. He sends his workers out into the field. That's what it's called, man. He sends his workers out there into the field when they're needed, you know?
100%. And oftentimes we go, oh, this person needs to hear this. I can't wait to tell them. I'm like, no, that's for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so yeah, it's that's where my life changed for the better, and it's been an uphill, climb from this point forward. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. Period. I have peace of mind now, and that's why I was getting high, and that's why I was chasing women and getting involved with certain individuals that you know how it is, and that was the whole point. I wanted to feel love. I wanted to feel content. I wanted to feel joy. I wanted to feel peace. I wanted to feel all the fruit of the Spirit, but I didn't want to do the work.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have a grounding foundation where it required me to be accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And once I realized I needed that and it was life-changing, I was like, okay, buckle up. Let's do this. There's no going back now. There's nothing there for me.
So let's go back. So you said some pretty important things. So number one, I'll touch on this one first. So let's go back to the pornography thing, because this is something that a lot of people, they really don't talk about. And I've had issues with pornography, you know.
We all have. And it's not, I'm not going to play it down, and I'm not going to say that it's unnormal or normal. I'm just going to say we're human.
Yeah. It's the lust of the flesh. What does the Bible say? It says the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh. Like,
right.
It's ingrained in you. We're born into it. You know what I mean?
It's coveting.
Yeah. And it's only because of God's Spirit. This Spirit allows you to not give in to those desires. Your flesh desires certain things, and it's always going to desire certain things.
It knows it's not going to heaven is why.
Yeah. And that's your that's your daily battle. And Paul talks about that battle
We
so
wrestle
perfectly,
not
man.
against flesh and blood, but a
Yes.
spiritual wickedness of the air. Ephesians 6:11.
Yep.
Therefore, take up the whole armor of God.
So you're ready for the battle. Like, you're gonna have fiery darts thrown at you all day, man.
All day for the rest of your life.
Every day. I was just talking to somebody about that last night. But
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
you were saying
Pornography. So
right.
I mainly wanted to touch on the fact, like, what it does to your mind, because there's a lot of kids now that are exposed to it.
Oh, it's
Even
horrible.
adults. But here's the thing, like, I'm a married man, right?
Sure.
The Bible says, if you're lusting after a woman in your eyes,
You've already
in God's
committed
eyes,
adultery in
you're
your
committing
heart.
adultery, right? And
You are.
a lot of guys, you know, at work or people that I know, they don't see anything wrong with it. You know what I mean? And I
Of
think,
course not.
and I think Satan uses that one thing, man. But I think the main thing that it does is it gives you this false perception on what sex is, you know,
It
because when you're
does.
married, it messes you up, dude. I've noticed, like, it does something. And I also believe the demonic spirits you're allowing to come in when you're watching this stuff,
You
it's
do.
demonic, bro. Plain and simple. Like, I don't care what anybody says, it's demonic. And
I agree.
and it affects your spirit, you know, it burdens the spirit. But in your marriage, or like married man or your girlfriend, like you're having this false perception of what sex is supposed to be. Like, sex is supposed to be between two married people, and it's supposed to be like a spiritual and like a holy thing. You know what I
It
mean?
is.
And the world wants to make you think that it's
Water it
not,
down.
that it's a feeling.
Right.
And then if you're not happy anymore, you don't have to do it. You know, like, there's certain things that Satan uses, lies, man, to drag people through the mud. You know what I mean?
I 100% agree. And I could talk to you about this topic all day long. In fact, before I go any further, I want to give a shout out to a friend, if that's okay. He doesn't have social media, but I'm sure I'll find a way to show him. I actually had some deliverance done on me today.
Really?
Yeah, and I can tell you it's real, and that was what it was from.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
I actually did a little, trial run with like one of those porn blockers or whatever,
Mhm.
and I got about 22 days, and then I got a case of I'm not going to drop an F-bomb, but you get what I'm saying. And it was not exactly because I was like, oh, I owe myself something or whatever. It was that I let my now be the now, and that now has not got me anywhere good. And like the minute I did it, I was like, it's just gonna be one time. And then it's like, but it does do something to you.
It does. In the minute after you're done,
You feel horrible.
it's like, so, like, you know, whenever you get those temptations, this goes for any temptation in my life,
Right.
drinking, drugs, whatever it is. When I'm having those temptations, I always remember that feeling. That's what I try to picture in my mind, and it's really truly helped me to steer away from when you're getting pulled away. No, I don't want to do that because I don't want to feel this. And, like, you know, alcohol.
Right.
I've never been a drinker, man, ever in my life. I could
Wow,
drink and be
my hat's off to you.
Yeah, I never been a drinker. I was always drugs. You know, people
Right.
would call me.
Well, my hat's not off to you.
I'd be like the DD, but I was high. You know,
Right.
I was
Right.
up and at him.
Right.
I was an
right.
upper
No,
guy.
I
So
get it. I get it. No, I was a downer guy, and
Yeah.
obviously you can still tell.
yeah, I was an upper, so they knew I was awake. Hey,
Yeah.
come pick us up. I need a ride. I'm
You're
not
like,
sober.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm outside actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been here. Yeah. Where else are we going?
Yeah, no.
What's next?
But I think about that, man. Like, when I get these worldly desires or these temptations, I think about the times that I did it, and I remember the feeling that I had. I want to say, for anybody who's struggling for anything in your life, like, if you keep repeating the thing over and over and over again, remember that feeling that you had, the guilt, the resentment, like, towards yourself. And I try to remember it in that moment to get my mind away from the temptation,
Right.
and remember the guilt that I was feeling in that moment. And I know it's not worth it.
Right. So, like, I'm going to kind of paint a word picture, right? So, the way it's actually been broken down on a scientific level. If you do your research, even scientists are like tripping. Like, it's just so crazy. Like, God is like making touchdowns. You know, we're straight up like the Patriots right now. It's good, but it's also, you got a lot of part-time Christians halfway. You know, I don't half step. I know you don't either. But
I don't know how, man.
I don't know how. I don't know how either. That's why God loves addicts, because addicts we're all or nothing. You know, we're either in or we're not. We're not gonna like fake it.
It's like a blessing and a curse, because when I'm in the world, it's a curse, bro. Because I'm all out, I'm all in. You know.
Right. 100%. So, like, You had said something about, that bond. So you actually do create a bond that I didn't know until after the person on my face and I ended, that there is actual spiritual contracts that tie to your soul, and they're called soul ties,
Yeah, bondage.
bondage, and
Yeah.
like it
For
will
sex? You're saying for sex? Yeah.
for sex, but not just with sex. I'm saying like it's like withdrawing, right?
Yeah.
It's like in the program, I hear it a lot and I say it a lot. You don't have to get clean ever again. Just
Mm-hmm.
stay clean.
Yeah.
That's it.
One time.
One time. Like, is it a reality that we're going to slip up or have a thought or whatever? Yes. But it's the act on that thought, and it's the act on that impulse. That is where we go back to what you're saying. Like, nah, you know what? That sounds like a good time. And my body wants that for some odd reason. And the bottom line is this: my body's not going there. So it's trying to keep me from going there as well,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to drag me down as much as it can.
You know, your flesh is so powerful. And this one dude, he said it so well. He's like, hey, man, you want to know how powerful your flesh is? He said, go sit in your room, get on your knees, try to pray for 1 hour. And I was like, I know what he's getting at. Bro, I can't pray for 10 minutes without wicked thoughts.
Getting in there. Yeah.
Because that spiritual attack starts happening right away.
Spiritual warfare is real. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
here to tell you, I've seen it myself.
So I'll tell you, I'm actually working on writing a book right now about the battle of the mind. It's called, and I haven't told anybody this, but I'll tell you this. It's called winning the battle within, and that's what it's
It's
about. It's about the
kind of like the art of war then.
yeah. It's like
Yeah.
it's the battle of your mind.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
because that's the one thing that I was not aware of when I became a Christian, and a lot of people didn't talk to me about,
No.
was the spiritual warfare that happens in your mind, and
Yeah.
it's so important. And why do you think it's so important? It's so important because you do not do anything without thinking about it first.
No.
Before you came here, you thought about coming here, you thought about the clothes you were going to wear, you thought
Right.
about how you were going to get there, what you were going to talk about, right? And then what are you doing now? You're wearing those clothes that you thought about wearing, you're saying the words you thought about saying, you showed up where the address told you to, you thought about all those things. So the same applies to your spiritual lives and the lives you have right now. Like,
Right.
you don't do one single thing in your life without
You don't process a
the
thought.
only thing that you physically do without thinking about your heartbeats. That's something your body does
Has
naturally.
no control over.
Yeah. So your thoughts, man, they are so powerful. And that's why I think God put on my heart to work on this book, because like that's the one thing that, like I said, no one really talked to me about when I became a Christian, was the battle that I was going to be facing in my mind. And that's how he takes you down easily. It's in your mind. It's not people. It's here in your mind, because you're with yourself 24. So you can't run from yourself.
No, you cannot. I mean, I've tried, but
Yeah, no, I've tried too.
I didn't get very far.
I've tried too, and I've had a lot of time to myself. Is the other thing,
Yeah, I understand.
And my wife, she trips out. She's like, "Why are you so?" And I didn't used to be introverted, right? I used to be the most outgoing dude, but half of it was because I was on drugs. You know what I mean? I'm a lifestyle party.
Sure.
I'm out there talking, wheeling and dealing with everybody because that was my
Right.
lifestyle.
That's how it goes.
And but I told her, I was like, I'm perfectly comfortable sitting here on my own in
Content.
silence. I'm happy. Like, I used to be my own best friend because of the sole fact the way I grew up. Running the streets, you don't trust nobody. You learn to be your own best friend. You learn to be observative. You pay attention to everything that's
Right.
going on. You know what I
Back to
mean?
the wall and all
Yeah.
that, and you watch what you say.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't go to here or there, or what's here or there, or whatever. That's just what it is.
Yep. And spending years of my life in the box, you learn to deal with the demons that you have. You learn a lot about yourself when you have a lot of time with yourself. A lot of people
Right.
can't be alone, bro. And it's because they're fighting demons. They're battling stuff in their
Right.
head, right?
Right. And like you said, if you're alone and you choose not to address it or do something about it or even bring it up to someone that you can confide in and say, help me understand this or help me learn from this, you just repeat the same cycle. And then eventually, I don't wish this on anybody, but picture it this way. They say generational curses go back like, please don't crucify me, but I want to say it's 490 years.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
So picture it
10
this way.
generations. I've heard a lot of different things.
Yeah, that means that somewhere down your lineage, they had a stigmatism against a Christian and they did not like them, or they did not like God for some reason. Who knows what their reasoning was? For all we know, maybe they were, and then they weren't, maybe they were, maybe they were like me, who knows? But there was something that was created that they did not address. And the thing is it skips generations or it just builds up and it gets normalized, like we were just talking about. And then now we have this cataclysmic event where we've got, it's always been good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been right and wrong. There's never been a gray area. And there's always going to be that person who's trying to like redefine right and make it wrong and make wrong right and like do it all in the name of love. And you're like, okay, first of all, let's get this straight. And I say this with all the passion in my heart. Love is not boastful. Love is kind. Love does not jest. Love does not seek revenge. You know the verse.
Mm-hmm.
So if like I'm acting out of love like I say I am, and I'm going to like a war rally or a peace rally, which we know that's all whatever. Here I go. But you know what I mean? Like it's like contradictory.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And we could go on a whole rabbit trail on that. But I want to go back to soul ties. Even with porn, you know, and I learned this the hard way, of course. It changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only did it become something that is visually stimulating, but spiritually draining, physically draining. It was like now they're doing studies saying it's like the same as doing heroin.
It's the same. That's what I'm saying about like about sin, man. Like
Yeah.
it all has the same effect on you. It doesn't
Right.
matter what sin it is.
Exactly.
It has the same effect on you, bro.
Food. If I eat cake all day long or like
Yeah.
supersize me, if I eat
Yep.
McDonald's religiously for the rest of my life, it is my fault that I have a high cholesterol.
Mm-hmm. And you might die.
And I might die. But if I'm having a good time, why stop me, right? That's
Yeah.
what the world says.
So what's your best advice? Because a lot of men struggle with this. Like I said, man, what's your best advice for somebody who's listening right now, man? And maybe that's what they're addicted to and they're trying to escape it. Like, what's your best advice for somebody?
Well, here's what I did. And I encourage people to try this. Find someone who's a Christian that you can confide in and be vulnerable and say to them, hey, can we read this in the Bible? It says in the Bible, confess your sins amongst each other so that the prayer of the righteous person may be healed. That's it. If you want deliverance, whether it be pornography, drugs, alcohol, whatever, yes, our human bodies have a really great bounce back effect. And we can also sit back and go, I did this. God allowed you to do that, just like he allowed you to get into it. But if you go to him first and you say, hey, God, I'm not only just admitting I'm wrong, but I'm showing you my vulnerability. I am screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
I need this person's faith borrowed to help me understand that I need help. It's the same thing in Narcotics Anonymous. It's the same thing in Alcoholics Anonymous. They make you do a 4th step. You take out everything you've ever done and you go to someone. Most of the time, it's a stranger. It's not like you're going to your mom or your dad or someone that you have a connection with. I mean, we would like to assume that they're doing that first, even with a stranger, not just picking some random person on the street like, hey, listen what I did last week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I was at the grocery store, then this happened, and
Yeah.
now I'm a murderer. And, you know, but the idea is we're not meant to carry that baggage.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go back again. When I didn't address it, we have that ability given to us. It says in the Bible, it says, the same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead resides in you if you believe in him.
That's why I still believe in deliverance to this day. You know, some people don't believe that someone can put hands on people and heal them, bro. Like, it's not the person that's doing it. It's the spirit of God inside of them
Right.
working through them. And the Bible is very clear about the spirit of Christ living in us. And that same power that healed the blind, the sick, did all those miracles lives
Right.
within. It's not you. It's not me.
Right.
It's the spirit within you has the power. Just like God gives me the power every day to not want to go chase all those things that my body and flesh desires. That's not me. That's why I can't take credit for
Right.
where I'm at in my life, bro. Like,
I mean,
the only credit I can take is by I surrender, bro. I came to a point in my life when I said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I surrender, God. Here I am. I lay my life down. And that's why I like that other Bible verse that says, to die is to gain. I died to myself. And that's not a one-time decision. That's an everyday event. When I wake
it
up,
really is.
I choose to die to myself and not give in to all these wicked things that my heart desires and my flesh desires. Like that. So that goes back to the thing that I was telling you about, the battle of the mind, man. Like,
Uh-huh.
every single day, my flesh does not desire to wake up, read my Bible, do the right thing,
No.
go after God,
It
be a
wants
good
to
father,
separate you.
be a good husband. No,
Right.
I'm fighting the same battles as somebody who's not a Christian is like. I desire to go out there and do wicked things. My heart desires wicked things.
Right.
I desire to go get high, get drunk, not be responsible, not take care of my family. Like my
Right.
flesh desires all that stuff. But every day, God gives me the peace and the ability to not do that through His Spirit. And that's why I think it's so powerful that people kind of miss the fact that spirit, the Spirit of Jesus Christ, like the Holy Spirit, your helper, your guider, lives inside you and gives you
Right.
the ability. Like you have gifts, you have things that you could be doing that not because of you, it's because God is working through you. It's like a television. That
Right.
television without cable, right?
Just a
It's a
box.
television, bro.
Right.
We're televisions with no cable or
Right.
a lamp with no light bulb.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I want to say this one last time, and I'm gonna kind of, I guess we'll move on. But men, and I know we're not so far apart in age. I'm 33.
Yeah, I'm 36, 3 years older.
Yeah, so we've grew up in a generation where being vulnerable, saying we need help, saying that, I'm struggling with this or with that was like, shove it. Just shove it down and deal with it, you
Yeah.
know? And we don't realize that, but like I said before, you can't unhear what you heard. So even though you may say you're a Christian, you may say, God, and I don't doubt that to anyone that's listening, but if you're not being vulnerable and you're not wanting to grow and you're not seeking God first out of everything, then like you're just lying to yourself. And like it's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable. Whoever said that was not okay, they're not okay. It's just they didn't feel comfortable saying they're not okay. And so they're trying to, it's like misery loves company.
Yeah. And that's actually been hard the past couple days is because I read that thing. This month is it Men's Mental Health
It
Awareness,
is.
bro?
And it's kind of funny we're talking about this. Yeah.
Well, it brings me to this point is I read about it. 80% of suicides are men, and it goes back to what you were saying because growing up, I was not taught to, like you said, express emotion. It was not okay, to be a man, to be cry. You're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to suppress those things.
Right.
Suck it up, be a man. Like you hear all these things, and that's what led to a lot of my anger growing up because I
Same
didn't
here.
I didn't talk about that stuff. It would, this I thought this was normal. This is being a man. I don't talk about it. You don't
Right.
talk to other men about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm sure your dad's dad was the same way. Like
It was.
it goes back to the generational curses. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like somebody's got to break that. But anyways, uh, being aware now that's all a lie. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
we're supposed to be expressing these things. We're supposed to have godly counsel in our life. That's the biggest thing is having other Christian men. You got to have a community. It's like, in AA and you have a community, right?
Right.
I found a strong community in church going to the Tuesday night men's Bible study. I've been going to that for like maybe 10 or 11 years. So I've met a lot of
Oh,
people.
wow.
Yeah, I've
Right
been going
on.
there for a while, man. So that's kind of, for me, I went to meetings when I was younger just to impress my probation officer and make her look like I was
The
doing
nudge
stuff.
from the judge.
Yeah, my heart wasn't right. You know what I mean?
Sure.
After I got out of rehab, I was able to just go get plugged into my church, man.
Right.
And like I said, I'm not a half stepper either. I give it my all. You know what I mean?
Right.
I fall
100%.
short every single day. I'm not saying that. What I'm
Right.
saying is like, just like I was, full blown in my addiction. Now I'm full blown into God, and I've always been all or nothing type of dude, man. But I went all in with God, man, and I started meeting people, getting connected, and I started building a solid community for myself. And that's goes back to your statement of, you're an easy target when you're alone, and that's why the Bible says, what does it say? A cord of 3 strands is hard to break.
Ephesians.
And it says when one person falls down, there'll be another person there to help
back
him
them
up. Like
Yeah.
you need community, you need fellowship, you need accountability is a big one. Because
Yeah.
I slipped in. There's been times in my faith when I've been stagnant and I slipped in and out of church and I avoided people because I'm going through something. Because when I'm going through something,
I don't want to be addressed.
I isolate myself and I don't want to talk about it. I've always had anger issues, and the way that I deal with anger is I isolate myself. If I'm going through something and then it
Right.
leads to depression, and then here I am back in this wicked spot in my mind, this
Around
dark
and
place.
around.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk to nobody. It's how I handled it my
Right.
whole life.
Yeah.
It goes back to what you were talking about not addressing things, and it could lead to generational curses. And I actually spoke about it before too, because Now, when I'm aware of something that is a character flaw or defect, like it's very important for me to try to fix it and address it because I don't want it to get passed on to those 4 kids out there. You know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh. I respect you for that
dude,
because that takes you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm gonna say something, but I want you to can double down on that because
yeah,
that's something that I think everyone needs to hear.
it's tough, man, because
I guess I
um
should ask, how important is that to you?
it is. It's very important because I realized at the age of 31, I told this story before when I was sitting in church and there was a dude in front of me holding his son, and the kid was just resting peacefully on his father's shoulder, and I broke down, started crying, bro, and I realized that I had never dealt. I love my dad, man. He wasn't around when I was younger, man, but he's there now. He's an excellent grandfather, man. He comes to every event. He wants to be there for everything, right?
Right.
But I had never dealt with that issue in my heart, bro. Like it was there in my heart,
Like you were
lingering.
missing something.
Yeah, it was in my heart and it caused a lot of issues because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to deal with it. It caused me a lot of anger, confusion, doubt, and that's what led me to want to seek approval and like you were
Yeah.
saying earlier, but I didn't deal with it. And I was 31 years old sitting in church crying, bro, and I have kids. Like I didn't know what was going on and I was like, "You know what? That's what I wanted from my dad growing up. I wanted my dad to pick me up, hold me, tell me he loves me. That's all I wanted, man. I wanted
Right.
love from my father, you know what I mean?
When I was a child, I'm gonna we're kind of going back and forth, but I think it's a good topic. So I want to tell you publicly, for the record, I admire that. That's where I'm at. I want. I mean, this is gonna sound like a worthy backhanded compliment, but like I'm envious of you
Yeah.
because what you have going on, I know it takes work. I know that whatever it is you have gone through was extremely hard. Whether or not we ever get to that point in life where you tell me every single detail, which is not a requirement as friends, but
Yep.
I'm saying, I'm sure there's a point in your life where you were like, I'm just want to throw in the towel and call
Mhm.
it quits. I'm at my limit, and like, but as a man of God, you're still here going, I'm going to do this for my family. This is more important to me than myself. So I want to commend you on that. You know what I mean? And so, same thing, going back to my childhood, and then we'll kind of spring forward to the later years. I wanted that same thing, My mom raised me as a single mother, and I would see kids getting picked up. Back in the day, you could get away with like one job, and there'd be the stay at home mom most of the time. Um, and I would see sometimes both parents picking the kids up, usually like because I went to the after school program. So
Mhm.
they used to have a thing called not the YMCA, but the Boys and Girls Club. I don't even think it's around anymore. Anyways, so I would go to the Boys and Girls Club and I would see the parents coming together, you know, and pick their kids up. And I was like so jealous because I was like, what is going on right now? Like, where's my dad? My dad was 3 hours away. It wasn't like he could just like pick me up from the Boys and Girls Club. And
Mhm.
he wasn't in the right headspace at the time to even try that. So it was like, but I had this, where's my dad? Where's my daddy? Where's my dad? Where's my rock? And my mom, I love her to pieces, and I'm trying really hard not to bash on her, but she didn't exactly take any of our feelings into consideration. And I'm trying to say that as softly as I can. She
You
moved. She moved on pretty quick. She got remarried and then got also remarried a few more times.
you know what that makes me think of, and then I'll let you finish. When you said that, "Where's my dad? Where's my dad? Where's my dad?" Uh, it hits deep, man. It hits deep because I think about we're born into this world fatherless, right? Because
Right.
you are a child of God. I'm a child of God. So that made
Right.
me think in this moment, dude, that like, you know what? We're all born fatherless. And that's that void that you're having. Like, where's my dad? Where's my dad? Your dad in heaven. You're searching for that
I,
feeling, that love,
I was.
and that's what kept me, like I've said it before, that's what kept me from going back to the drugs. I've been sober 11 years now, man, because
Right.
I felt that love and that peace. And I
Right.
was like, I'm home. Like, this is where I need to be. Nothing else can compare to the peace and the comfort that God gives you, bro. Like there's not, you can chase it all you want.
Right.
It's
It's there.
sustaining. You
It
know what I mean?
is. And yeah, you either have it or you don't. That's
Yeah.
the bottom line. And you'll know. I mean, I don't know how you said it. I don't know how else to say it. It's a peace of mind. It's not getting so wrapped up in what is peace of mind. It's knowing you're gonna be all right. More than all right, actually.
It's the peace that surpasses all understanding is what the Bible calls it. And I can't, that's why it's hard to explain, because trying to
Right.
explain what I'm talking about and what you know and feel, the peace from God, like we have finite minds, man. And it
Right.
really blows my mind to think that people think that we came from nothing or we evolved from monkeys. It really, I'm dead serious, bro.
I know. I have this. Yes.
I'm dead serious. They're
Yeah.
just so lost and confused because you know what, man? Like, and I've said it before, I've done a lot of research on like the human eye, bro. You have like 1 million photoreceptors in your eye
So you're like a
that
high pixelated
scientists
camera.
like that scientists cannot duplicate in any way. And I'm like, so you're gonna tell me you have 1 million photoreceptors in your eye, right? And we evolved from nothing. You're gonna tell me that was made out of nothing. Like when you think about the theories that there was absolutely nothing there.
And then all of
If
a
I
sudden
had
something was there.
think about this. If I have nothing in my bank account, there's nothing there.
Right. And then
There's
all of
nothing.
a sudden
Yeah,
something's
all
there.
of it. Yeah, all of a sudden this intricate. Like think
Amounts
about
of money just showed up out of thin air.
and not just that, like an
Yeah.
intricate human being. And I say
Right.
that because I have 4 kids, so I've seen the birthing process, and it blows my mind every time. Like a chemical's released when she's ready to go into labor to make
Right.
the baby, like in her body. These are all things that are produced in your body.
Right.
Like the human body is unexplainable, bro.
So real quick, and I'm gonna go back to kid stuff. It's funny because, like you said, like out of nothing and then there's something. Is that not the first line in the Bible? Out of nothing and then there was something.
But God made it, but they don't acknowledge the creator though is the
Right,
issue,
right.
right?
But
They don't
isn't it?
acknowledge the
It's
person that made
right,
something out of nothing. We
right.
just came from nothing. That's
It
it.
came from nothing, but
Or 2 rocks hit together and bam, well, here we are. You know what I mean? Like,
right, exactly. It's like
nah,
you're saying the same thing. You're just not giving the title, the proper
you're
title.
missing the main aspect of it all. You know what I mean?
I moved in with my dad. I was about 11 years old, and my dad worked at Barona, the casino not far from here, and we lived in South Bay still. So my parents, when they divorced, my dad moved to Chula Vista. My mom moved to the high desert, 3 hours away, La Quinta. It's at the time in 2000, it was an up and coming suburban neighborhood that wasn't very much out there. Our nearest house, like I said about Tennessee, was like twice a stone's throw away. There was I think 5 houses on our street. We were in the middle of a desert. It was like mountains all the way around, and like one main drag leading into the neighborhood. It was called the La Quinta Cove, or LQC. And yeah, so we lived there. And like I said, I was watching, you know, this thing that I had a want and a desire for, but did not have. And my mom just like, I don't know what it was. Maybe she felt the way I felt. I'm not sure. And I never really could understand. And I don't even think she's even done the work on herself to make sense of it. She's apologized, and and I accepted it. And I have to move past that. And I'm really trying not to bash her. She moved on relatively quick, I feel like. And she got with a guy that was a pastor. And I'm not going to mention his name, but there was definitely some stuff that was going on that was not okay. And I will say this, there was a lot of violence in the home. And so that created resentment in my heart towards God, because I was like, how can this guy be a pastor
Yeah.
and put hands on a kid?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom's over here like preaching the thing and doing the thing. My dad was not around. There was like no one to protect. I mean, God was around, but don't get me wrong. But I'm saying that physically, there was no one to come to the rescue and be like, that's my son.
Mm-hmm.
When I found out, I guess I should say, that I could pick who I want to live with, I was like, I'm going with my dad. So we lived in Chula Vista on 2nd and F. It's like right in the heart of Northwest Chula Vista.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the heart of the hood, man. I grew up, around lowriders, and my dad wasn't around. My dad worked at night. He worked at Barona. But I was kind of caught in the middle. I had my mom telling me, follow God, and then beating me. And then I had my dad who was like, just don't get caught. Be home when the sun goes down.
Mm-hmm.
And don't wake me up because I'm sleeping. And it's like, well, all bets are on then.
That's a lot of freedom as a young kid.
At 11 years old?
Yeah, it's a lot of
I
freedom.
was responsible to get to and from school by myself, walking through the ghetto, just like, whatever. So, yeah, I had a lot of freedom and I had the ability to do what I wanted whenever I wanted. And it really just, I mean, I didn't have like money. It's not like I could just like go places, but I definitely could skateboard. And I was all throughout Chula Vista growing up, just Orange Avenue skating. And sometimes I wouldn't even know where I'm going. I'd just take off and hope I'd find my way back. That's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the time what would happen. I would have to identify landmarks. I didn't know street names. I was too young for that.
Yeah.
You know, I just say, "Oh, I know this. This is somewhat near Third Avenue. I live slightly off of Third Avenue, and Fuddruckers is over here, and the parks, blah blah blah." And I was at least smart enough to go with like a small group of people. It wasn't like I was like by myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't that crazy yet, but yeah. So I kept doing what I wanted to do, and my dad just kind of like co-signed on it. You know,
Have you really like addressed them, like acknowledged them and addressed them and tried to move forward with them? Because like I was saying, like I was 31 years old before I moved past that one situation, man. And like a lot of times we have these things hidden in our hearts, man, that causes issues that we don't even know because we've never dealt with them. You know what I mean?
right?
Because we've all been through trauma, we've all had traumatic experiences, and we go through them. But now that you're an adult, you can see that some of those traumatic experiences affect you now. And then the thing that I noticed was like, wow, man, I never dealt with that one thing. And like I
Right?
said, now it's gonna bleed into every area
Yeah.
of your life. It reminds me of a scab that never heals. It just keeps
Right.
bleeding and
You just
bleeding and
keep
bleeding,
picking
bro.
it.
It doesn't even scab up. It's just bleeding all over the place, and it bleeds
Right.
into other areas of your life.
Well, it's like that saying, right? You bleed on the people that didn't even cut you.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like, you know.
And that's something I had to really navigate through once I surrendered. You know, unfortunately, I am very much a baby in my mind still,
Yeah,
but I'm not afraid to try to learn
yeah.
or not try, do my best to learn. All right. Because we can only grasp, like you said, we have a finite mind.
Mm-hmm.
Could read a book all day long and get knowledge, but if I don't know how to apply it, well, then I don't got wisdom.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the difference. And so I have been going back to the present moment through the rest of my life was a lot of that. You know, figuring out who I am, where do I fit in, where do I go, who do I not talk to, you know, like most kids. And that was a struggle. But when I surrendered, a lot of things changed that I was not negotiating on for years. And people would point it out, and just a name offhand, like sagging your pants or bandanas or looking at women a certain way or hanging out with these people or you know what I'm saying. I just didn't want any part in that. Like there was something in me that was like, if I'm gonna do this, like let's just get it over with. Let's just, get the tattoos covered up that have the names. Let's get the pants pulled up. I had 1.25 inch gauges at one time. I took them out.
Well, you know, that all has to do with the transformation process. Because transformation, here's the thing, like
Right.
you can come to Christ, man, and you're saved, right? Instantly in that moment like this, you're saved. You have a new identity, but the
Right.
transformation doesn't happen like this.
No.
That's a
You have
day by day,
it
step
is.
at a step, hour by hour, you start moving into transformation. And that's why God starts working on your heart. So it's an inward change. It starts out inwardly first, right? And then it starts working its way outwardly, little by little. Your heart
Right.
starts to change. And like we were talking about earlier, things that used to matter to you, they don't matter no more.
No.
And you start letting these things go and you start realizing all the bondage that, because what it is it's strongholds and footholds that
It
the
is.
devil has on your life to keep you as that same individual that you died to, right? You died to
Right.
that person.
Oh yeah.
And your flesh is going to want to hang on to those things. But when you're getting transformed daily, you're reading God's word, you're praying, you're getting to know God more. That's why those things start to fade away, because that person's dying a little more every
Right.
single day. You know what I mean?
Well, it's painful sometimes because we resonate with our old self sometimes. Like this is how I got to this point.
You know why? What do you think that is?
It's the flesh. It's our
That was your identity.
yeah, exactly
Before you came to Christ and you received that new identity,
right.
like I'm telling you about, That was
right,
your identity.
right,
That's
and
you.
it's
That's what you identified as. That's who
right,
you identified. And I was
right,
just talking to somebody about this today, bro. I think it was David. I was talking to David about identity. He sent me a
yeah,
video today about identity. I was like,
yeah,
I identified as many things in my life.
yeah. I love that guy. That
And
guy's cool.
it's comfortable, right? That's your
Right?
comfort. It's not comfortable going through transformation. It's not comfortable
No,
changing your life. It's not comfortable being disciplined. It's not comfortable waking up reading that
no,
Bible every single day when you
it's
don't want
not.
to. It's That's the thing. That's the misconception that people have about being a Christian. Like, it doesn't get easier, bro. It gets a lot harder.
Take up your cross.
Yeah. And God gives you the strength to do it. It gets 10 times harder when you become a Christian because now you have a target on your back. You have somebody working against you. Satan doesn't have to work against you when you're walking with him. You're already on his team.
Right?
When you're on the opposite team, that's his
He knows you're
full-time
a
job.
threat. He knows what you're capable of, and
Mm-hmm.
he's been trying to keep you from that.
And he will.
Your whole whatever it is.
Every single day, it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a battle, tooth and nail, bro, for you
Right.
to follow God.
So, I kind of want to touch on this real quick and then go back to your question because you were asking me, what's changed and like what I've been doing, right? So, it's a willingness, right? It's honest willingness. I don't want it no more. I got asked to go to a certain particular place, what we were talking about earlier. And I was like, dude, if I'm gonna do that, I might as well just go do what I actually enjoy.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of that. That's played out, and don't get me wrong, like by all means, if someone wants to go do their own thing, but yeah, it gets addicting too though. Like when you see like spiritual progression or like acceleration or whatever they call it, and you start to see like the things are lining up and like these old things I was taught as a kid are like, and like what? Like all this is coming back and it's like, yeah, this is actually, believe it or not, what was supposed to happen
Mm-hmm.
so that we can take that big step of faith to follow it by another big step of faith so we can get to where you need to be. Like for example, I had a job with the government, right? And first of all, same thing. I never thought I'd get it, and it wasn't that I was a felon, but I had a lot of baggage and I was very concerned. And I was like, this will never happen. I was there for 3 years and for a time it worked and I had a good job and I had good money and you name it. But like you said, it wasn't what my heart's content was. And here's the kicker. When I was in juvenile hall, I remember saying, one day I'm going to come back here and I'm going to talk to these people. Now, that may or may not happen, but what I'm getting at is I planted a seed of my own faith within my doubt. I had a desire at a young age that I wanted to tell people that it's not what it's cracked up to be. I still made a lot of poor decisions between that point and where I'm currently at now at 33 years old. 19 years later almost. But I finally look back at my life, and I think I forgot to mention this. I may have got any trouble a little, and I apologize. But there's a song called The Goodness of God by CeCe Winans. I'm sure you've heard it.
Yep.
And it says, all my life, you have been faithful. All my life, you've been so good to me. And I remember hearing it the first time, and I went, that's a good song. I was grasping the concept. So I played it again. And I played it again. And she's just got such a beautiful way of painting that story in that song. And I think it was the third, maybe the fourth. I seen my whole life in like slow motion. People say like, see your life before you flash before your eyes before you die. I seen my life flash before my eyes before I truly lived.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And we could talk for hours about some of the stuff I've been through, and I wish I could make it up, but it really happened the way it did. And I'm sure you've had similar experiences, But one thing in particular I remember that really resonated with me, at 23 years old, I was sleeping on a park bench, and I remember saying then, there's a few times I said, God, get me out of this. But I remember I went to Job Corps at 23 when my grandmother, rest in peace, was still alive. She's tattooed on my neck right here. I remember sitting there and in those moments white knuckling it and going, if I just don't get high and I get in this program, if I just don't get high, I get in this program. Well, the news is, and these are the facts, I got into the program. I was also told I wouldn't get in. God provided that for me. I don't know how I got through that program, but I left with my first car and a career in the union, and I became a concrete finisher. I should have shot for the moon. I should have been like electrician or plumber, but this thing don't think too well sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm more like caveman, like rock, stick, stick, rock, rock, stick.
Yeah.
And God's like, you could have been an electrician. You know what I mean? But I'm like, no, I'll be a concrete guy, you know, and I excelled at it. You know, I'm still doing it to this day. But because I went to that program, then 10 years later almost, I'm where I'm at now, right? I had to make that decision to not get high, even though it was a short while, to even get into that program. And like, if I would have just took like a tenth of that same ambition and played it like I do now, then my life would have been different. Everyone's life could be different. But the key point is going back to your question. And like I said, the song is I seen things like that in my life. Sorry. And I was like, God was there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier with the keys and the glasses. But I kept saying, self, me. I'm doing this. I wasn't doing anything. I was just going through the motions, looking for God in all the wrong places, looking for God at the bottom of a 40 bottle, looking for God in someone's pants. You know, you name it. You're right, tattoos and whatnot. And I just remember like when I was a kid, like they're like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, "I want to be that vato." And they're like, "Okay, let's try this again. When you grow up, what do you want to be?" And I'm like, "I want to drive a lowrider." And they're like, "Okay, this kid is a lost cause." You know what I mean? Like it's just that was my low hanging fruit thinking. And like I said, here I am 10 years later from that present moment almost. It was in September. I went to Job Corps and I did a year. And for those that don't know, the Job Corps is not easy.
Yeah.
It's very challenging. It's like going into the military, but more stringent.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Context. A lot of people go. It's like one step below YA.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're either gonna go here. It's like a joint suspension. You're either gonna go to this program,
Yep.
or you're gonna go back. And if you just happen to think you're gonna get one over on us, we will find you, and we're gonna take you. They're all in the same mindset as me. Like, I don't want to be here, but I gotta figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of ego and all that. But needless to say, I'm looking back as I'm listening to the song. I can remember being in Job Corps. I can remember being at that park bench at that very moment I lived. I can remember when I said, God, I'll do anything, never come back here again. And it was the day before I got clean. And I'm like, God loved me so much that even though it hurt him, he allowed me to go through all that muck and mire. So that when that 15-year-old boy said, I'm going to come back and tell those people, can now go back and say, I see you. I've been there more times than I want to admit. And it's not what it's cracked up to be.
No,
It's not cool. It's played out. The whole I'm a big homie and all that, like that is, especially today's day and age, because it's all for show, dude. You go to the lowrider events, which I don't even go to anymore, and it's all kids playing dress up. When I was a kid, if you were wearing a Charlie Brown or Solo jeans, for those that know, you were gonna get breast, and that was just a ticking time bomb. Like you knew that was a possibility. Somebody was gonna come up to you and be like, "Where are you from?" And if
Yep.
you weren't ready, you were gonna get it. And if you had a story, you were also gonna get it. It was like you're gonna get it whether you like it or not.
Yep.
You know, and nowadays kids are like, for the gram,
Mm-hmm.
for the TikTok. And you're like, bro, kids are getting killed back in the day over that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of rest in peace shirts, a lot of candles on the street because they wanted to be like how you're acting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, wanted to be a somebody. And there's a Bible verse in Romans in the Message translation. I like how he puts it. Paul speaking says, I take nobodies and make them somebodies.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I think one of my favorite Bible verses, man, is Romans 8:28, where he says, "I will work all things out for the good of those who love Him and were called according to His purpose."
Right.
And it goes back to like what you're saying, like God allowed you to go through all those things, so now you can come back. He worked them out. What the devil meant for evil and for bad,
God meant for good.
He worked it out for good, and now you're gonna go take those things and use it to help someone who was left in that situation. And that's the one thing I love so much about God, man, that He uses people who were once broken to now bring in those broken people and show them the way. You know what I mean? It's
Well,
like
not just
passing the torch on, you know?
well, not just that, but then it's a beautiful mosaic. It's like
Mm-hmm.
stained glass windows. It's all pieces of broken glass. But when
Yep.
you step back, it's you know what I'm saying?
And that's the most common misconception that people have about coming to Christ is that you got to have it together. That's not what he wants, man. That's not the
Nope.
business that he's in. He wants to take you broken, lost, hurting, whatever your situation is,
Ready.
homeless, drug
Right.
addict. It doesn't matter what you're going through. He wants to take you just as you are, and then he's going to show his glory through you by transforming you into giving you new life, making you a new creation. That's what he does.
Right. He wants to mold you, but
Mm-hmm.
he's not going to mold you if you're not moldable. He'll just keep putting you in the fire till you're ready.
Yeah, you think you got it all together, or you think you're going to get it together and then come to Christ. It doesn't
Nah,
work like
it
that,
does
man.
not. He's gonna if he wants your attention, he's gonna pull all the stops.
So my last question is this, man. What is your message to the struggling addict out there? Somebody who's half in, half out with God right now. Maybe they're struggling with what you did. Because I know a few people that are in that situation. They're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, bro.
So I actually, for this last question, I kind of want to do something a little different
Mm-hmm.
because I think people need to see for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So give me 1 second. I'm gonna take my hat off. Okay. Again, I struggled my whole life with my identity. I struggled my whole life with who I thought I was or what I wanted to be. That's what we all do. There's not one person that doesn't know God that doesn't struggle with that. Once you know God, you know better, and that's the point, is to move forward. But for those that don't know God, that void we kept bringing up in that filling it never gets filled, for one. But once you're broken enough and you're ready, you will do anything. And if you just take a tenth of the energy and the effort you put into getting high or looking for the next thing or person or whatever, then and only then, when you surrender to God, to Jesus, not just higher power, and you say, I'm not able to do this anymore, not able to do anything I'm doing because it's not working, clearly, or it's not working anymore. The time's up. God, would you help me understand what you want me to do? Will you help me surrender? I need to change. And like, let that be your heart's desire. It's not no half step surrender. Like, it's not like, okay, I said it, and then tomorrow it's like back to the whatever. It took me getting this to get that through my head. This was this fourth or fifth name tattoo. Excuse me. I was having a moment. But yeah, 6 names and 4 women. That is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But the point I'm making and why I bring this up with my hat off is so that people can see what's on my face. I'm embarrassed that I would go that far for another human being, but not go that far for God.
Yeah.
Because man will let you down every time. I'm going to let you down at some point or another. I don't want to. That is not what my intention is. But when we put expectations on people and we're like, you're going to do this, or I expect you to do this, and this person's unable to meet that, we have to remember that we're human.
Mm-hmm. We all fall short.
We all fall short.
Doesn't matter who you are, pastor. Doesn't matter who you are.
No, it doesn't matter. And so once we get that through our thick head and we go, okay, so if there's one thing I can pass on to that addict that's struggling, you don't have to get clean ever again. Stay clean. It's not worth it. Fentanyl is a huge epidemic, not just in San Diego, but all over the world. It's real. It's scary. I've known plenty of people that have kicked the bucket, punched their ticket, whatever you want to call it. It's not cool. It's played out. What I am going to say is this. I have a peace of mind now that I wouldn't trade for any high.
Amen.
And if you want what I have, which I know you understand and have as well as a man of God, you'll go to any lengths to keep it because there's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. There's not a girl, there's not a guy, there's not a nothing. Not a house, not a boat, not a car, not a lowrider, not a tattoo. I mean, yeah, I'll feel good for a moment, But my biggest thing I always had a problem that I didn't know I had is the now. Everyone's like, when I get this, or like you said, when I get to this point, today, make it today. It's not about tomorrow. I'm a betting man. I'm betting I'm waking up tomorrow. But we both know I could get in my car. God forbid, I go out. I get cooked, as some of my friends would say. But
Yep.
today, it means everything. So if there's something I can say to the addict and to the person who doesn't know God, invest in that. Ask those questions. Go to someone who you can trust and say, can you help me understand the Bible? Can you help me understand how to have a relationship with God? You know, because I have some questions and I'm just not able to grasp it. Like, who is this Jesus guy? I didn't do that until I was 32. I spent 25 years in here, and it's not somewhere I want anyone to be.
Mm-hmm.
Suicide, homicide, it's all the same. That's my emotions. It was either way up here or way down here. And now I'm not saying I'm plateaued, but my life is pretty mellow, you
Yep.
know, because my contentness and what I have now is not in man, it's not in woman, it's not in this world, it's
Nobody
in
can
God.
take it. That's
Nobody
the
can take
difference.
it. The only way that they can take it is if I say, here, it's yours.
Yeah.
And that's sobriety for me. So I don't know if that was kind of hard to understand, but surrender.
No,
That's
it
the
is.
bottom line, you know. And if you really mean that and you really want that, it's available to you. It's not rocket science. I mean, you go to any, like I said, NA, AA, Celebrate Recovery. There's so many programs out there. I've even heard about codependency programs, and they
Mm-hmm.
even say it. You know, and it's all derived from the Bible, James, the book of James. You know, and we were just talking about that. Confess your sins amongst each other, so that the righteous person prayer will heal you. Well, there's also a catch. I have to have faith in it as well.
Amen.
Like you said, deliverance. I have to believe that God is bigger than my issue. God is bigger than my anxiety. God is bigger than my fear, and God's in control. May not be the outcome I want. May not be how I think it should happen in the now, but I know this: God is good. If you're still breathing, if you're still able to keep up with us in this podcast and you grasp something, know this: God's not done. Period. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the thoughts I think towards you, thoughts of a hope and a future." But
Amen.
but the catch is this: you got to read before and after. That's what I tell everyone. 11 through 14, to paraphrase, says, "And when you seek me," God speaking to the nation of Israel, which we are inheritors of their promises and their blessings.
Amen.
It says, when you seek me above everything else, and I'm priority number one, I'll be found by you, and I'll put you where you're supposed to be. That's it.
Amen.
And you'll know there's a God in heaven. Period. That's enough for my entire lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Am I saying don't go to church? No. But know this: that's in the Bible. If you don't believe me, look it up.
I tell people all the time too, man, like if you're an addict and you're struggling or you're on the fence about God, I tell them this: what do you have to lose?
Right. Period.
Literally, if you're at rock bottom in your life right now, if you're sleeping on a park bench, if you're trying to find a way back in your marriage, or you just got divorced, like you're at rock bottom in your life right now and you're on the fence about Christ, what do you have to lose, man? By going and doing something
Right.
positive, by going to a church and seeing and feeling it out for yourself.
Right. And I have my hats off to my sponsor, you know, Travis. Like I said before, Travis Melville said something that I loved. And I have another friend that said something very similar. He says, I didn't go to God because I wanted to be a Christian. I went to God because I wanted to change.
Mm-hmm. They knew where to go when they needed the change.
Right. And I've even heard someone else say, that way I can be held accountable for what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that, oh, I was high, or oh, I was not in my right mind. You know, that's where that happened. I can honestly look someone in the eye and go, I messed up.
Yep.
I need to take ownership over that. So that's when I say, and like, you never have to get clean ever again. Like I said, 25 years was spent knowing the truth, having people praying for me, like I'm sure many people are doing out there right now for their nieces, nephews, grandsons, granddaughters, sons, daughters, and they're just like struggling. I see it all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it hurts me. It hurts me big time, and like it's It's terrible. It's a terrible feeling, but I have a tremendously great relationship with my grandma today. We read the Bible every day, and when we don't, I feel off. I'm like, okay, it's like being an addict. I'm like, I gotta itch that scratch or scratch that itch or however you can say it.
That's a blessing, though, man. You get to share that time with your grandma and read the
I
Bible and do all those
Dude,
types of
I
things.
am so grateful because let me tell you, when I lost my dad's mom, my nana, it was heartbreaking. And it happened the day before I was supposed to take her to breakfast today.
Oh no.
And I had just started to complete my program at Job Corps and had a car, and I was going to go pick up my car and then take her to breakfast. I had a little pocket change. She had a heart attack the night before, and I would, if I could go back to that day, that very last moment I seen her, I would have hugged her just a little longer. 2 days later, she kicked the bucket.
That's crazy,
I was
dude.
supposed to see her. I seen her on Wednesday, and that following Saturday, I was going to take her to breakfast. I'd never seen her again. She had dementia before, so she was in her right mind in that moment, and we had a very heart-to-heart reconciliation. I told her how I went back to school and I was doing the right thing, and she told me, I'm proud of you, Mijo.
At least you got that, you know?
She did. It makes me want to...
At least you got that moment with her.
Today, like I was thinking earlier, and I was like, she'd be so proud. She just, my grandma, my dad's mom, she loved the Lord too. She really did, you know. And I remember when we were kids, she'd say your prayers, you know, say your prayers, mijo, say your prayers. And I go, okay, grandma, okay.
Good news is you're gonna see her again.
Oh, absolutely, bro. I mean, yeah, that's a topic for another time, but I love my nana. She's the best. So I don't know if like anything I said was resourceful or useful, but I appreciate your time. It was very awesome to be here, and I'm working on it, showing emotion, but I'm over the moon. Really,
Yeah, man.
truly, I really hope that I wasn't too abusive on language or bashing people.
Oh, I
Or
think this was a good episode, man. That's the thing about doing this is I tell people is while you're doing these, you're healing, bro. Like, and
I
like I
believe
said, there's
that.
things that you talk about on here that you may not have even been aware of that were affecting you. And as you're talking about them, you're dealing with it. You're healing. You're understanding some things about yourself, you know?
Right.
And that's what I love about doing this, man. And I thank God for giving me this vision
This
and calling me
platform.
to do this. Not even the platform that
Right.
I was suffering, dude. Like last year, man. I'm telling you, like at my job, dude, just miserable. I stepped outside of my purpose. I didn't have a purpose, bro. Like my purpose was to wake up, provide for my family, go to work. And I
Right.
started going through the motions and becoming stagnant in my faith, bro. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
it's easy to go through the motions, you
It,
know?
it is, and I was gonna say this earlier, and I'm gonna bring it up real quick, and I'm sure we can wrap this up. But what you're doing right now is your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't feel like a job.
No. And there's a guy that said that. This guy, he has a podcast and he's like, you know what? Your gift is a thing that comes easy to you. He's like, what's the thing that comes easy to you that when you're doing it you lose track of time? Like, and I'm like, I love talking to people, sharing, like, and I had this revelation from God. I was sitting over there in front of 7-Eleven because I was praying. I parked my truck. I had just went to the gym. It was a Saturday. Actually, the memory just popped up on my phone. I got back from the gym. I parked over there, kind of in front of Tractor Supply down there on the corner.
Okay. Yeah.
And,
Right. Just on the
in
way.
that dirt lot right there. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you get
Yeah.
off
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
freeway.
Right.
Cause I was going through something, man, and I'm like, man, Lord, like, what
What's
am I
going
doing?
on?
What am I
Right.
doing with my
Right.
life? I feel like I'm not walking in my purpose. I feel like
Right. Disconnected.
I'm going through the motions. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was like, what is my gift? What do you want me to be doing? And I'm diligently praying, man. And he spoke to me so clearly, right? And I'll tell you the story. It's crazy. He said, you like sharing and you like talking. Like those two things came to my mind right away. Like I like sharing, I like talking. That's what I'm always doing. I'm always reaching out to people, whether I know them or not. Like,
Witnessing.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Everybody that knows me knows my story for a reason because I'm an open book. You
When
know what I mean?
100%. And like when I met you back in, I want to say early January. We were doing that very, very, very first
Bible study at
Bible
Travis's
study
house.
at Travis's, yes. And you actually gave out devotionals.
Mm-hmm.
That was the coolest thing I Now, you do cool stuff all the time, obviously, but I'm saying seeing that right in that moment, it made me not like think of myself. How do I say this? Like it made me feel like I wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we feel like that. Sometimes we're like, "Am I the only one that like cares?"
Yeah.
It gets tiring, and
Mm-hmm.
then we have to realize we're not the only one. God's the only one,
Amen.
and we're only able to do so much. Sometimes, where were you when I was hungry? Where were you when I was thirsty? When did you visit me in prison?
Mm-hmm.
And they all said, when were you ever there? We do it without even realizing it. And that's how we know it's our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not going to God like, did you see? Did you see? Did you see? Telling everyone, you can't believe this happened today. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, it is.
He keeps no record of right or wrongs. He doesn't say, well, today you did a good job. Yesterday, not so great. Tomorrow I'll try better. That's us.
Right? And God tells me I like talking, I like sharing, and the word podcast just came into my mind. I was like, podcast?
Right.
No way. You know what I mean? Like you get back to that thing. Like I'm not equipped. Like how
Right.
am I going to do that? What is it going to look like? Because you don't know what you're headed for, right? So
Right.
a week goes by, and I came home and told my wife, I was like, "Hey, babe, God just revealed to me that my gift is sharing and talking to people. Like that's what I love to do." I told her because I hadn't thought about it in years because I was trapped in this mental prison that I was going to be a construction worker for the rest of my life, and that's the best I
Right.
had coming. Straight up, that's what
Right.
I thought in my mind, right? And so the following Monday, I let it go for the whole week. I was thinking about it. I'm like, this can't be. And I let it go for the whole week. Monday morning at 4:30 a.m., a dude that I haven't talked to in years calls me. I know him from Las Vegas from my past. Hey, bro, I just want to let you know, man, you need to start a podcast. And I'm dead.
I believe it.
Bro,
No, like when God wants your attention, bro, it's just
dude,
what it is. It's just what it is.
4:30 in the morning.
I
Look, I
know.
got chills talking about it because
I believe you,
I
and I
was
can
like,
see it.
I'm like,
I
yo,
believe it.
confirmation, like a podcast, like
You're like, dude, I'm
it's
not
Monday
even
morning at 4:30,
like
bro.
I'm not even awake yet, or if I am, I'm barely
Yeah,
processing. Like,
and I
come
haven't
on
talked to
now,
this man in, bro. I haven't
a
talked, and
long
I don't
time.
talk to him on the regular. It's not like
Right,
it's not a
right.
regular situation. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah. There's a difference between divine calling and
Mm-hmm.
our will, and I
Yeah.
learned that the hard way because I'm a natural rhyme spitter. I sent you something.
Yeah.
I can put together some rhymes. It is not a challenge. But there was a time where I was very convinced that I was like, I'm a rapper. I mean, maybe, but I also told myself when things started to get weird, I said, and when by weird, I mean like things were just not lining up. I said, but what's the whole point behind my music?
Yep.
What is it is it look at me? Because like my music's my testimony. It's not like I'm just like gangster rapping,
Mm-hmm.
thinking about whatever, glorifying that lifestyle. It's quite the opposite. And he said, well, if I'm gonna do that, I gotta walk it out. It's not just hanging out in the booth. And there's actually a rhyme where I said, I'm the same from the streets to the booth. I'm the living proof.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been my motto ever since. I haven't been in the studio since November. And I've had people hot on my tail recently saying, you got to get in there, get in there. And I'm like, I don't got to do nothing.
I'm good right
I'm
now.
good. Like, when God says it's time, and I'm sure He will eventually when it's out of my system with this pride and ego kick I was on, I'm working on right now. In the meantime, I'm going to invest in the houses. I'm going to go to the meetings. I'm going to go to the churches, and I'm going to hit the streets because that's where the music is supposed to go, anyways. And if I ever get the chance to go back, great. But if I don't, then my testimony will speak for itself.
Amen. Out there
So
reaching the lost.
I mean, I make every attempt I can. I can't say everyone's on the Jesus train that I talk to. Sometimes people resent me. Sometimes I'm too much. But I always tell them, Jesus is the reason.
Man, dude.
So.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today, man. And we had a good episode, bro.
Of course.
I'm going to go ahead and pray us out, man.
Absolutely.
Father God, I just thank you today. I thank you for today, Lord. I thank you for fellowship, Father. I thank you for Brother Garrett coming on here and sharing his testimony, Lord. I can see you doing a work in his life, Father. I pray that you continue to shape and mold him into the man you want him to be, not the man the world wants him to be, Father. I pray you continue to shape and mold both of us in the direction that you want us to go. Help us to not give in to the flesh daily, Father. Help us to walk in your will, Lord. Help us to seek you. Help us to keep knocking at your door, Lord, seeking wisdom and guidance, Father. And I pray you continue to use us in a way that will help others turn their eyes to you, Father. That's what's most important, Lord. I know every single circumstance that we've been through, Lord, every situation, every person we've ever met, Lord, nothing is insignificant in our lives when we're walking with you, Father. They all have a specific plan and purpose, and they're for your purpose, Lord. Help us today to keep our eyes on you, Father, not get distracted with the things of this world. They're all temporary, Father. They're all going to fade away, Lord. You're the only thing that's eternal. You're the only thing that'll never fade. And I thank you for that, Lord.